Okie dokie, folks, and welcome back here to another edition of Monday Night Shaw, right here on Love Pro Wrestling or Love Wrestling. And I would like to welcome my special guest today, all the way from Saskatchewan. It is Tony Novak. Tony, how are you doing, bud?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me on your show, Goose.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. I don't mean to kill the magic, but this is the second time we've recorded this opening because we ran into some serious audio issues with the first attempt there. And like I say, this is only our second episode on Love Wrestling, and there's a new procedure on how these things are done. So thanks for toughing it out with me, buddy.
Yeah, it's all good, man. Thankfully, it wasn't too long-winded or anything, so it was fine.
No, and when we kicked it off, we were just about to get into the the old school wrestler comes on a podcast, and the first question is so where were you trained and whatnot. So you were telling me that you were able to train with Lance Storm because your wife made good with her estranged father, and they invited you to come live in Calgary for a while to train with Lance, and that's about as far as we got into the story.
Yeah, so if we can just quickly mush it all together. By happenstance of my wife and her absent father, her and I ended up living in Calgary, and then right where Lance's school is, and it just worked out perfectly that way. Then a year and a half, worked 2 jobs, saved up, put myself through Lance's school, and like we briefly talked about, we just barely touched on it, Lance Storm is one of the best trainers in the freaking world. Like, not only does he know what he's doing, but he's freaking hilarious.
Oh, really?
So those 3 months were a fun time, man. Like, I can't, say enough good things about him. And then even just being able to email him too, like staying in touch with him. Like, he's just that cool of a guy, that down to earth of a guy.
Yeah, so he's really like made a mark on your career as like a mentor type thing.
Very much so, yeah. Just all around good guy.
Do you send him like match footage and stuff and be like, hey, can you critique this for me?
I did for the first year, and he did get back to me here and there, but it got a little spotty, because he was still running, his classes here and there, and he had more people reaching out to him, and then the list just kind of got long. So I didn't want to, pester him. I didn't want to send him too much stuff, right?
Fair enough.
And thankfully, there's enough veterans out here in Saskatchewan to, be in touch with and kind of get critiques that way. Not saying like everybody's on par with Lance, just saying like, getting advice here and there, right?
I'm kind of surprised to hear that that Lance Storm has like this incredible sense of humor. Like he seems like a very dry individual. Like I've heard him on podcasts and stuff, and he seems like he does have humor, but it's kind of like you have to dig deep there to.
It's very dry. It's a very dry Canadian sense of humor, right? And then once he's just in class and he's pissing around, he has a good time. Like, example, all right? So you've seen me. Many people have seen me. I'm a small dude. I got like the small frame. So when he would show us how to safely do moves, I was the dummy. And there was this one day, this lady, she had me up for a fall away, right?
This lady had me up for a fall.
Okay. It's a hell of a sentence, yeah. But she had me up. And Lance, he was trying to explain what she was doing wrong, just grip-wise, technique-wise. And he's like, dead serious. He's like, wait, here, hand me Connor. Let me show you how to do it. Just hand me the thing. Hand me the Connor. Yeah. he just made things interesting, made it fun. Those 3 months flew by. And then here, get this. At the end of the 3 months, I officially graduated. I had my first match the very next day with RCW. And then a week later, me and my wife got married.
Oh, solid.
Hell yeah. So just a week, like a hell of a week, man. Just, bucket list items.
When did you when was your first match?
That was July 2016.
Okay. And who did you wrestle in your first match?
It was actually a couple guys from my class.
Okay.
It was a dude named Archie and then Dennis the Menace.
Archie and Dennis. Was I at this show?
2016?
I might have been ring announcing. I can't remember.
Really? Because Archie was wearing like the yellow singlet, and then Dennis the Menace, he was wearing like a black muscle shirt and whatnot. He was German. Does that help?
Yeah, no, I don't know
He was
I
getting ripped
don't
on for being German. That's why I threw it out there, just because like he owned it, right? And people are just like, "Are you German or something?" And he's like, "Yes."
know.
It was solid for what it was. Yeah, we had fun that night.
I love the fact that he's a German wrestler, and his name is Dennis the Menace. Like, was he aware of the like? Oh, there's your cat.
Oh
Um,
yeah, Larkin.
is he aware of Dennis the Menace is like in popular culture in North America? Like, does he know about the cartoon and like the movie with like Christopher Lloyd and stuff? Like,
Yeah, he knew what was up. Yeah, he's just like, hell yeah, I'll be Dennis the Menace, and yeah, I don't think he exactly acted that way, but he knew the gist of what he needed to do, and I think like he was just kind of egging people on and whatnot. And he's like, haha, I'm a menace, so good enough.
okay, I'm trying to think now because like another like main character from the cartoon in the show was like his next door neighbor, Mr. Wilson. Was that like a part of it at all? Like, did he
Oh my
like
god, it's
talk to
funny that
Mr. Wilson while he was like cutting promos or anything?
Dude, it's funny you bring that up because I was actually on my way to the venue, and like I said, this is my first match. So, buddy hit me up, and like the promoter, he's like, "Hey, so what's your ring name?" And I said, "It's Tony Novak." And he's like, "Oh, okay. I was just gonna put Tony Wilson because you were gonna be Mr. Wilson in the match." I'm like, he's like, he straight up said, "It's a good thing you answered me when you did because you were gonna be Tony Wilson." I was like, "Thank God." That would have been my big debut as Mr. Wilson.
That's fantastic. Was that
This close.
Steven Styles?
Yes, fucking Squig reached out to me, and
Of
yeah,
course.
I saved
Uh,
my ass that day, man. Texting
dang.
while driving, it helped.
Like, I just like, that's wild to me. Did Lance Storm give this guy that gimmick, or did he choose it for himself, or
No,
uh,
it just worked out that way. Where
was
the
it
triple the the,
Squig's
tri-
idea?
the triple threat was booked. All they knew that they had three brand spanking new guys, and they're just like,
Mhm.
one of them is named Dennis. Okay, and then they went from there. That's all they needed to just start booking it, right? Just Dennis the Menace, slap Tony Wilson in there, and then Archie is just Archie, right?
Okay.
Because Archie
Was it
himself is a presence. Archie's like a hell of a dude. Like just looking at him, it's just he's good. Let's get gimmicks for these guys. Let's get
does
Tony Wilson and Dennis the Menace in there.
does Archie and Dennis the Menace, do they still wrestle?
Archie wrestles out in Texas, and Dennis is back in Germany actually, and he's on a hiatus. He just never really got going out there because it was kind of slim pickings for wrestling out there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a very famous independent fed in Germany, WXW or whatnot, but that's the only federation I can think of out of Germany. So it might be a situation where they just don't have enough room for tennis to menace. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
not a
I
lot of
feel
booking
bad.
opportunities.
Is there a story behind your ring name?
With Tony Novak. So
Mhm.
to anybody who watched like the
Pardon me.
old reality show of NXT, there's a dude named Jacob Novak. Nobody remembers who
Was
he is. He
was he
was
a really tall guy, like really tall and lanky, like
No, that
farm
was a that
boy?
was a different guy. That was like
Okay.
Cottonwood or whatever the
Oh,
fuck.
okay.
Jacob Novak was this dude who wore like a diaper, kind of like the Bo Dallas look, and just kind of floundered, didn't do much. I always dug that name, and then I've always wanted something with like the least amount of syllables. So I
Yeah.
had Novak, and then I was sitting on the name Tony, where I had a grandparent named Tony. But when he passed away when I was like 8,
Mhm.
my mom actually told me that he wasn't my blood relative. We just kind of took him in as like my grandparent because he and I were so close and whatnot.
Fair
And he was
enough.
always very supportive of me. He just, long story short, he's a dude that meant a lot to me. And so I chose the name Tony for him. And I actually, I do kind of feel bad I never asked about it, but he was from a different reserve. Like I'm First Nations, I'm from around here. He's actually from way up north. And again, it just didn't come up. But I actually, 6 months in, I got invited to go do a wrestling tour up north. We went to Turner Lake, La Loche, and Buffalo Narrows.
Oh, okay.
And my mom called me when I was at the first show, and she asked, "Where are you going tomorrow?" I said, "Buffalo Narrows." And she said, Tony's buried out there. So when I went to Buffalo Narrows, I got to go visit his grave.
Oh, solid.
So I chose his name for my wrestling name, and then wrestling brought me to his grave.
And how did you enjoy wrestling up north?
It was very different, but it was also very easy, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
Like we go out there, we do our thing, right? We smack each other around and whatnot. But then the kids, they loved it. It just feels like growing up on a reserve myself, like here and there, like you just get that feeling of there's nothing to do, nowhere to go, nothing to see. You kind of get just kind of eager to go somewhere and experience something. People just go to the high school, play some basketball, but that's it, right?
Yeah.
So when wrestling came to the reserves up north, they loved it.
Yeah.
Just it felt like a rock star, man. Just like 50 people, but they're going freaking ape shit, right?
Did you go on with Tony Condello?
I did not actually. I never really got a hold of him, but that was actually with
Okay.
Ringside Wrestling. Ringside is where I got my start with Joey Vendetta. He booked me out there.
Oh, okay. I didn't know he had done like northern tours.
That was with Keith Suchuk, who also wrestles as Crazy Horse. He's the one who helped get that in motion out there. So
Okay,
huge credit to
heard
him.
his name.
Keith is one
Yeah.
of the coolest guys.
Did he pass away?
Thankfully, no.
No. Okay.
He
I must be
retired
thinking
in
of somebody else.
2018.
Okay, maybe I saw an announcement about his retirement and thought it was an announcement about
Thankfully,
his
he's
death
still
here
around. Yeah.
now that it's 4 years later. But I've heard his name come up. Anyway, were all those northern dates in Saskatchewan or because you've wrestled in Alberta and Saskatchewan. Have you wrestled in any other Canadian provinces or?
I've been to Manitoba, Alberta, Saskatchewan. That's it so far. I've had some opportunities to go to like North Dakota with Danny, but
Oh,
just
okay.
like passport situations never really lined up. Just getting that taken care of, and then COVID and stuff. So everything was just slowed down. So I never really got to capitalize on that. But
Yeah, did you go out to? Because I mean, when you say with Danny, that are you're talking about Danny Duggan from Canadian Wrestling Elite?
yes, sorry, Danny Duggan
Okay.
with CWE, who's very notorious for traveling everywhere, right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah, they do
every
a
chance he
lot of
gets,
shows.
yeah, Danny, the one thing I will like tell anybody that asks about him is like Danny gives opportunities like crazy. Like anybody who's just getting started, talk to Danny. He'll get you going. He'll teach you. He'll put you in very opportune situations to learn. Like
Yeah.
6 months in, I got to fight Chase Owens. Came
Oh,
down
okay.
from New Japan. I fought him in Prince Albert. And Danny didn't have to do that, but Danny is a guy who promotes new people learning. He promotes the future. Because
100%. Yeah.
Danny knows what it's like, right? Just starting out. So I'll always be in debt to Danny for that, and I'm sure you feel the same way. Like Danny just kind of taking everyone in, right? Like just kind of, it's not clicky that way.
Yeah. No, it's like every time I'm on a CWE show, it's like a completely different roster. Like it's not like, oh, it's the same, like couple of guys and then a revolving door of like three or four other guys, right? No, it's kind of the opposite. Like Danny's at every show, and usually Sean Martins is there. Usually AJ Sanchez is there. But even I've been to shows that Danny wasn't at because of he moved to America for a while there and stuff. So it's like every CWE show is always a completely different locker room, and I think that's kind of cool.
Never knowing what to expect. Yeah, that's what I really dig about it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I just actually finished doing some matches with CWE last week.
Oh, that was just last week?
Yeah, Medicine Hat and then Calgary.
Oh.
Yeah. I also ring announced and worked the music in Calgary.
Dang. Just multiple hats, eh?
I was kind of like hiding, like the ring announcing was done from backstage. So this is the first time I've ever ring announced and wrestled and did the music on a show. But it was a worthy experience,
Played
give you
yourself
more,
to the ring and announced
more
yourself to the
skills.
ring.
Yeah, it was weird. Yeah, because now making its way to the ring, the Canadian Goose, and then I walk out through the
Yeah,
curtain and be like, yeah,
here I
yeah.
come. Yeah,
Well, like I tried to just pretend it wasn't me, but yeah,
nice,
then we immediately got in the ring and did promos, and so people could have told if they get keen enough, but
nice. I dig it.
how it goes. Yeah.
Oh, real
You
quick.
recently wrestled for CWE. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, just before we move on from the Northern tour, when you're asking how the crowd was, like
Hmm.
they were so like just jazzed to meet us. So it actually led to a very unique situation, and I was like, this is something I'll never forget. Where we were tearing down the ring, and this kid came back with $20 because he wanted to buy a shirt, but we already put everything away, right? And he's like, "Oh man, I wanted to buy a shirt," and I was wearing my shirt, and I was
Hmm.
like, "Do you want mine?" He's like, "Yeah." So I took it off, I put it over my shoulder, and I stepped away from him. And just like me and Joe, I was like, "Hey kid, catch." Made him happy, made me happy. I'll never forget that tour for that reason. Obviously, the gravesite is, a whole different end of it. But that Mean Joe moment, I could have retired right then.
Pardon me. It's like the scene where Bret Hart is walking down the hallway and the kid goes, "Hey, Bret," and then like zooms in and Bret Hart gives the kid the sunglasses.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That was
that's
peak. That was peak.
some great stuff. I know, like I heard because while I was out there with the CWE boys, they were telling me that you were just involved in one of their big shows at one of the music festivals out in Saskatchewan. How did that go?
That was very, man, I have some bad things to say about it, but I have some great things to say about it. But I
Okay.
think just because like I have so many feelings about it, it's all good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
it's like it's just I was on constantly. I'm either frustrated about something or I'm excited about something. Or I'm laughing about something. Like the only bad thing I'll say is like just the weather, right? And then given the circumstance, we had to set up and tear down the ring each day, three
Oh,
days.
really?
Yeah, because like we were in the beer gardens and the ring was outside, so we didn't want drunk people getting in the ring.
Fair
So we
enough.
set up,
Yeah.
tear down every day, searing hot. I got weird tan lines from my tank top that I was wearing while we were doing that. So, but yeah, just the searing heat was a pain in the ass. But Craven was so much fun, man. Because like the crowd was like non-regular wrestling fans, so they were kind of figuring out as we went, right? We're kind of like spoon feeding them, like I hate you, and then other guys are like, "Hey, I love you." So it was really unique to me, I think, where just kind of not knowing what to expect. Like someone like AJ Sanchez, great example, where he knows how different crowds are going to be, right? So he just kind of does his thing. He knows like he knows who he is in front of any crowd, right? But with me, I
Mhm.
think I just kind of like rocket shoe Tony Novak. The, when there's like a known wrestling crowd, like I know how to be in my own skin, right? Like I know who Tony Novak is and I know how to project who he is. But to a brand new crowd and they're looking at me and it's not, the wrestler Tony Novak, it's just some guy, So
Mhm.
just kind of trying to project that way and kind of like spoon feed to them who Tony Novak is, et cetera, et cetera. And it was very unique to me, but it was also a very good learning experience. But I just had fun out there where I
So it
wasn't
was like a challenge for you.
very much so, yeah. Like head is on a swivel, right? Where I'm trying to understand what's going on. I'm trying to read the room, trying to be self aware, right? I didn't want to like do the same thing that I always do and just be like, this is how it is. But then just be like, if the crowd isn't digging that, like, what else can I do to show them who Tony Novak is?
Yeah.
It was really tricky the first couple days, not gonna lie. But then I think by the third day, they understood what we were doing, right?
Yeah.
So then when I went out there and I gave them that Tony Novak energy that I always do, they knew what I was trying to do and why I was doing what I was doing, right? And then that's when they started getting behind me. So I
Okay.
think that's why I have so much good things to say about that. Is just because by the end of it, I just figured out how to be Tony Novak in front of that kind of crowd.
I see. I love wrestling in front of a fresh audience that's never seen me before, but I'm in a kind of a different situation. Like as soon as they hear it's the Canadian Goose, they're people are pretty much like, okay, I get the idea, and they're either on board or they're not, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, and usually they are because it's kind of like a fun type thing.
Your ratio is very, very good, and I envy you.
I mean, unless if I'm playing the heel, then then I have to work for it a little bit more because when your first name is Canadian and you're coming out in Canada, then you're trying to get booed. It can be challenging, but it's not that
Yeah,
it's
that's a
fun.
hell of a handicap to go into. Yeah.
Yeah, but I still like I have a great time. I like doing the promos more as a heel than I like doing promos as a baby face, but I like to do I like the in-ring promos as a baby face, whereas the like build up, like if I'm at home and I'm using my projector or whatever and I'm filming my own promos, I'd much rather be a heel in that situation.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that.
Do you do a lot of promos and stuff?
I don't mean to pat myself on the back, but when I get booked with CWE, I try to make a point of shooting promos because, like, I'm like with me. I think when I'm in the ring, you can't picture what my voice sounds like, and I feel like that's something that I keep in mind with myself. Where I try to get these promos out there, and then whatever I say in the promo, I try to embody that in the match, right? Like when I like someone like Sean Martins, Kevin O'Doyle, when myself and my partner Tyler Adams were booked against them, I shot a promo and I said everything I could to let people know that I believed that Tyler and I could beat them. And then when we got in the ring, Tyler and I gave them everything that we had. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I just it gives me a start off point, where like the match has begun days before the bell even rings. I cut the promo and I try to picture in my head what we're gonna try to accomplish. Like me and Tyler Adams, easy story. We're underdogs, and that's what I tell people. And then when we get in the ring, that's what I show them. So with promos, they're essential to me, And as soon as I know what the card is, I picture in my head what like what somebody sees when they see that card,
Yeah.
like me against Danny. I was booked against Danny last summer, and the first thing I thought was like, it looks like Danny's gonna kill that kid. So in the promo, I was explaining where it's not just, hey, I'm gonna show up and fight Danny, where it's like I need to beat Danny at the time. Like,
Mm-hmm.
man, like COVID obviously was a pain in the ass for everybody,
Yeah.
and then I was in a really bad place at that time, personal stuff, like mental stuff, physical stuff. Like, man, I wasn't ready for Danny, like
Okay.
I can honestly say that as soon as I was booked against Danny, the first thing I thought was like, I'm not ready for this. But given what I have, like I need to just go at Danny with what I have, which at the time wasn't much. And I straight up said that in the promo where it's like, I'm in a desperate place, but if I beat Danny, it'll turn everything around. And I said that. And then unfortunately, I didn't get to fight Danny because he was hurt. And then circles back, it was Rex Roberts that I fought.
Okay. Yeah. Just I know that we just say circles back. It was Rex Roberts. We talked about Rex Roberts in the last one, the other recording we had to did. So if let's bring the people up to speed on who Rex Roberts is and why
Okay.
he's important in this
So,
story.
long story short, Rex Roberts is a Saskatchewan wrestling legend. He's been around for so many years and he's fought like any former WWE superstar, any big time indie star that's come around here. Rex has gotten his hands on them because Rex can hang with anybody. And
Okay.
that's why when I fought him last year, that's kind of like what I was hoping for because so when I started and I was reaching out to local promotions and whatnot, high impact wrestling, Rex Roberts was the guy to talk to. And I tried to get in with him. I don't know if like me sending him my stats, oh, he's too small. Maybe I just won't even answer him. Whatever the situation was, I first talked to Rex when I first tried to get into wrestling. I didn't hear
Hmm.
back from him.
Okay.
It just kind of works out that way, right? I don't think it was vindictive or whatever.
Yeah.
Just
No.
whatever happened. I trained with Lance. I ended up meeting Rex, and he ended up taking me under his wing, which was a good time because, like I say, he was a legend. Like he knows what he's doing. But then this time around, when he replaced Danny on the tour, and I had to fight Rex, he just felt like he needed to teach me a lesson. You know what I mean?
Was this when Danny had his torn quad?
I believe so. Yeah, it
Oh,
was his
okay.
quad. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was supposed to fight Danny, and like I said, I was in a desperate place where I felt like I needed to beat Danny to turn everything around, right?
Mhm.
Then I ended up fighting Rex, and there was some underhanded shenanigans in there, and I ended up losing the match to Rex. But when I talked to Danny afterwards, he like just he respected me for that, and I think when I cut the promo about fighting Danny and giving it everything I had and whatnot, I feel like I accomplished that without even getting in the ring with Danny because I showed Danny, and then ever
Yeah.
since then, here we are a year later. I feel like I'm where I was before COVID, like
Mhm.
physically, mentally, and as you see, I'm taking bookings further out, going to Lloydminster, I'm going to Outlook, I'm going to Warman, and I'm trying to get back to where I was, and I'm trying to, just focus on wrestling, trying to enjoy wrestling again, and then even meeting new people like you, I feel like there's more people to meet, more experiences to have, and I'm really optimistic about it.
Yeah, you do meet a lot of interesting and cool people. You talk a lot about this big match that you had built up to go against Danny. Is that on the docket for any time in the future?
Very much so. Yeah, Danny is a guy I have wrestled him once. That was back in early 2019, and I really think that match was the start of like me believing I can hang. You know, here
Okay,
instead of getting into a long-winded story, I'm gonna give you like bullet points. Okay,
sure.
so 2018, like I started in 2016, 2018, I reset completely, where I left ringside and then I went to High Impact, and I was recovering from injuries, and I was kind of just felt like I was in over my head, and I had a crap year. 2018 was the worst year in my wrestling career, where
Fair enough.
I floated, I did nothing, I had no ambition, I didn't travel anywhere. It was just Saskatoon and Regina. That's it. I did that to myself, where I put that limit on myself where I was going to be wrestling the same dudes over and over, and I wasn't going to get better. But in 2019, I drove to Winnipeg because I had a chance to fight Danny. And Danny was that match where I hung in there with him. Like, you've been in the ring with Danny. Danny, makes you work for it, you know?
Hmm.
Like, when he hits you, he freaking hits you, you know? So when I got in the ring with him and I hung in there with him, that's where I thought, maybe I'm better than I give myself credit for. And then that's when I started venturing out, started traveling more, started wrestling new guys, and then I worked my way up the card in HIW. So it was kind of like you know, like a comeback story almost, just because like I just kind of let myself get to the worst place in my career, and then I worked my way up. And I again, like I said before, I credit a lot of things to Danny. Just having Danny around, whether he's kicking your ass, whether he's giving you words of encouragement, he's a guy who just makes everybody better.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think I've wrestled Danny now like I don't know, almost 10 times. I've had at least like 6 or 8 like one-on-one matches with him. It's it's kind of crazy actually.
Breaking double digits, eh?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But again, always a tremendous learning experience and whatnot. Who are some of the other people that you have had the opportunity to wrestle, and who are maybe some of the people that have like that you take influence from? So like when you're putting together your matches and stuff, like who are some people that you look to for like, okay, I kind of like to use some of these guys as mannerisms or maneuvers or whatnot.
Um, well, my all-time favorite wrestler is Matt Hardy, and
Okay.
I don't think I've ever actually told you this story, but real quick, I have his logo tattooed on my arm
Oh,
because
okay.
because like when I was a kid, when I saw Matt Hardy, so like you said, people that influenced my matches. So when I
Hmm.
started watching, I was watching weekly, right, and I'm just seeing the same people come out and whatever, and just kind of noticing things about people. And Matt Hardy in 2006, long story short, he lost a lot. But what I dug, 10-year-old me, I'm watching this. I'm watching this dude come out. He's losing very often, but he comes out with the exact same energy every single week. He comes out and he, just does his thing. He doesn't let the losses change anything about him. So that's what I try to keep in mind. You know, like I said, 2018, I was just kind of phoning it in, just not really helping myself. But then 2019, you know, I lost, I won, I worked my way up, but I always consistently had the same energy because Matt Hardy made me believe every single week that he was going to win because that's what you saw when you saw him. You know, he believed he would win. So when I get in the ring, I make sure people know that I believe I'm going to win.
Mhm.
Especially
So
when you see me standing across from someone like Danny, you think, oh, he's probably not going to win. But then you see in my face that I believe I'm going to win. So that's what I keep in mind. And Matt Hardy is my favorite for that. You know, just that's all it took for me to idolize him. You know, and then also, so this is what I wanted to tell you. When I was training at Lance's,
pardon me.
I tweeted Matt Hardy
Okay.
and I gave him a quick little spiel about how he's been my favorite wrestler since I was 10, and I was working 2 jobs to put myself through Lance's school, and I asked if I could use the twist of fate as my finish, and I didn't want to use it without his blessing. He tweeted me back, and he said, "Thank you for asking. You have my blessing. Lance is an excellent trainer. Good luck."
Right on.
So, yeah, I try to hit it every chance I get, man.
Oh, yeah. That's a versatile move too, because you can kind of it's like an RKO. You can do it out of nowhere, right?
Oh, yeah. I tried to get it on AJ Sanchez, but I haven't really mastered hitting it on a huge guy yet. But eventually.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think the trick is to just like got to get the ref out of the wear so you can boot him right in the gonads, and he'll bend over real far for you. And then you can grab his head and go.
I think that would help. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll keep that in mind next time I get to fight AJ Sanchez.
Oh, yeah. AJ Sanchez has an incredible moonsault.
I don't understand how the hell he does that, but you know, like he's a freak athlete, man.
Yes, he tried to do it on me a couple of times, and I fortunately moved out of the way.
Yeah, just wasn't
As
having it.
evident by the fact that I'm still here.
Yeah, I will not be a victim.
Yeah, yeah. Um, you actually did you not? Were you doing a podcast a little while ago with Maverick Jack?
Oh yes, that was Time Out, where we were reviewing old episodes of Raw during the Attitude Era. That was 2020, summer 2020, when everyone was stuck at home. And then
Okay.
me and Jack were talking, and we coordinated all this stuff, and we're like, huh, this could be a podcast. We just shot the shit and whatever. We're just like, huh, let's hit record, see what happens.
And so how many episodes did you guys get into?
I believe we got north of 10, and then stuff came up with him where he was kind of like dealing with his own stuff, which I completely respected, and then we kind of just fell off the rails. But then he had a kid.
Yeah, yeah.
So as you can
Congratulations to
imagine,
him.
podcast gets put on the back burner, and I'm more than happy with that because he
Yeah.
is doing more important things. And Jack, shout out to Jack, freaking
There's
father of the
definitely
year.
more important things to do than watch old episodes of Monday Night Raw and then review them online for your dozens of followers.
Many episodes in, that's what we're starting to think. Yeah.
Yeah, were you guys doing it with Love Wrestling?
Yeah, the Spencer Love Network, correct?
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. That's what we're appearing on right now.
I wasn't sure if it got rebranded or something. I think there was a hiatus or something at some point, right?
Well, I know for a while, like I don't mean to go on to like the unofficial like history of Love Wrestling, but I know for a while they did that Spencer was heavily involved in Win Column Sports Network.
Oh,
and,
yeah, yeah.
and then that one kind of got shut down or whatnot, and then yeah, he started up this new one, and now they have Love Wrestling, where we have all these wonderful podcasts, and they even have their own like pro wrestling shows, and that's the last Friday of every month down at the South Edmonton Rec Room. Have you had a chance to see any of the footage or anything?
Yes, Jack Pride. I have him like all over my social media, and that guy is insanely active on social media, thankfully. So I'm very in the loop with that. Also, T.Y. Jackson.
Oh, nice. Did you
So,
watch the match with Jack Pride and Lumberjack Larry and Mo Jabari?
That triple threat, yeah, I saw like the start of it, but not everything was posted yet from what I
Oh,
saw.
okay.
So,
I did
but I
commentary on that match.
really
Yeah, it was the first match I've done commentary on in many years, and I had a tremendous good time. It was a lot of fun.
just so versatile, man. You're just all over the place,
I
able to
try
do
to.
anything.
Yeah, yeah, like yeah, I'm here to help. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah, contribute every which way, right? I dig it.
Yeah, yeah. I would love to do more commentary. I'd love to have more opportunities to do that. And then anytime I'm injured, I always like revel at the chance to do some like ring announcing or whatnot. Have you ever done any of those other roles besides wrestling on the actual wrestling show?
Um, I've literally done nothing else. I
Fair
just
enough.
I show up, I fly around, and that's it. I don't get to touch any of the expensive equipment. I don't think I'm trusted with that. And you know
Yeah,
what? That's not what I'm trained to do. Like it's whatever. Yeah.
solid. So you've never done like refereeing or
Well, at Lance's, he taught us like the basic rules of wrestling. And it's like, if need be, if you need to get your foot in the door, if you need to ref, here are the rules you need to know.
oh,
Stay the fuck out of the way. Count like you mean it, et cetera, et cetera. So I always had that in my back pocket, just never got to use it. And actually, when I started with HIW, I offered that, where I was like, "Could I do like a
okay.
guest referee spot or whatever?" And they're just like, we need you in this triple threat match. We need you in the singles match. Like it just kind of worked out that way. But I ain't complaining. I had a good time wrestling. It's just all the for lack of a better term, side jobs. I just never really got to get my feet wet, so to say.
Fair enough.
Like
I
with you,
remember I did.
was it like ambitious on your end? Were you asking for that, or were you just like filling in where you were needed?
Well, I mean, when I started by like, setting up chairs and stuff, and then setting up the ring and putting up posters and that kind of stuff. And then eventually I got to do like an in-ring interview. And then for a long time there was nothing going on. And then I moved to Alberta and I was doing music. Like I was the guy that would hit your music before you walked out. And then Squig was on his way to from Calgary to Edmonton, or vice versa. And I remember he was with Jesse Neal from TNA,
Oh yeah,
and the car broke down right outside of Red Deer where I happen to live. And so Squid called me, and so I went and picked them up and helped them out with some shit. And we went out. Part of my language. We went for lunch and whatnot. And Squid was like, "So what are your ambitions?" And I was like, "Well, I'd like to try anything. I'd like to try ring announcing or refereeing or being a ringside manager, or any of that kind of stuff." And then yeah, like a couple weeks later, got a message from Squig, "Hey, I need a ring announcer tonight. Would you be down to do that for me?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." So then I became like RCW's like main ring announcer for like a while, right? And so I then I eventually trained with Andrew Hawk, but I was kind of only had enough training that I was only doing like really small out of town shows where I would, basically just go out and get beat up or whatever. And
yeah.
then, but during that course of while that stuff was happening, I would do other things like, Squig one night, one of the referees just got really upset and decided they were going to leave the building. And so we were left with not enough referees. And Squig came to me after the second match. I had been ring announcing that night and was like, "Hey, would you mind refereeing for the rest of the show?" And I was like, "Well, I've never refereed before." And he was like, "Well, you know the rules of wrestling." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And he tossed me a shirt and I went out and refereed, and it all went fine. I mean, I wasn't the greatest referee in the world, but I don't think anyone was like asking for their money back or anything. And,
Yeah.
and yeah, and then but the I mean, and I am happy that I have those skills that I can be an effective like I'm actually a good ring announcer, and I'm passable referee, and
Yeah.
I'm a good music guy and stuff. So like I am happy I have all those extra skills as well. But
Yeah,
like
so like at any moment someone can
wrestling's
toss you a referee shirt, a ring announcer blazer, your ring gear, and they say, "Here's your motivation." And then you're just down for whatever.
yeah, like there's I mean, I feel like the more things you can do, the more reason there is that anyone would like. There's no reason not to have me on the show, because like even if you don't need a wrestler, maybe you need an announcer or a ref or somebody to work the music, like and I have all that experience. So
Hell yeah.
I think it's just helps with your resume and whatnot.
Hell yeah, just being very handy that way.
That said, nobody is coming to the show to watch the referees or the ring announcers or the sound guys. So like that's why the wrestling is always the most fulfilling.
Yeah, God
because
forbid you see a dude with a notebook and a pen watching you, the referee, saying, "What the hell is this guy doing?"
Yeah,
Not
and
impressed.
I wouldn't be impressed with that. I'd be like, why are you insulting these wrestlers who out here busting their butt by commenting on the like
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you're like, the only reason anyone should notice like the referee or the ring announcer, if anyone's like actively noticing uh what kind of a job you're doing, I mean, hopefully they're noticing, oh, you're doing a really good job, just because they had low expectations, and
You're
then
staying out of the way, and I appreciate that about
yeah,
you.
you're doing well is something that hopefully they notice. But like more often than not, the only reason you would be noticed is if you've made some sort of horrible blunder, So
Unfortunately, yes.
yeah, your job is to put the onus on the wrestlers, like if you're ring announcing or whatever, right? Like
Oh yeah.
I always say that the ring announcer has two jobs, and that's convey information and get people hyped up to have a good time. And as long as you can do those two things effectively, you'll be pretty good as a ring announcer once you get the like basic timing down and stuff.
Hell yeah. And as far as like working other shows and whatnot, I don't think I've asked you this yet. Have you worked for Claude yet? Best Entertainment Wrestling?
I am one of the first BEW tag team champions of all time.
Really?
Yes,
Dang.
yes.
See, I'm not a statistics guy, and I
I
apologize for that.
held the BEW tag team championships. I won the belts, and then they were stripped. Claude stripped me and my tag team partner of the belts, and it was not my fault. I'll say
Dang.
that.
Nothing's easy in wrestling, eh?
Yeah, no, it was me and Will the Thrill defeated Steven Styles for those belts in a handicap match. It was supposed to be me and Will against Matt Hart and Steven, but Matt Hart was unable to come, and I kind of envy him, to be honest, because it was a rough night, that one. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say because BEW just started working for them, and I really dig it,
I
man.
would like to work for them again for sure, and I mean I'd even be happy to go after the BEW Tag Team Championships, but I would need to find a new tag team partner.
I would, whore myself out to you, but unfortunately, Tyler Adams, we're like Velcro monkeys. We're attached at the hip, so I'll probably see you in the ring at some point.
Okay, well, all right. I'll wrestle you and Tyler Adams. I like Tyler Adams. He's a good guy. I met Tyler Adams on the tour of Saskatchewan I did there.
Right on, right
with
on.
Danny. And I actually, I thought Tyler Adams, he was a really nice guy.
Oh yeah. But once you get in the ring with him, because actually, I got to wrestle him twice in Prince Albert in the last year, and man, like for a nice guy, a soft spoken guy, he hits freaking hard, man.
Yeah. Did he show you all that cool his new gear he has designed and stuff, and his new persona that he's working on?
The concepts, yeah, I've seen those, man. The work he's put into that, I commend him for that.
Yeah, no, I think that's gonna do him well. He's gonna stand out more, which I always like.
Very much so, yeah.
That's one of the things I like about wrestling is I really like the characters that kind of stand out.
See, and that's the thing, man. Like I've been around longer than you, but I feel like you're making just as big, if not a bigger impact than I, just because of your huge personality, man. And I really admire you for that. And I think I told you that before, like when I first met you. I heard about you. I knew exactly who you were before I even met you, just because like everyone's talking about the Goose, man. The Goose is everywhere, getting booked everywhere, and he's lighting up crowds here and there. And you know what, man? Like people like you just make me want to do better in that department because like I said, I wrestle, I fly, I do my best, right? I get beat up and I keep coming back. But I just feel like I don't capture the imagination the way someone like you does, you know? So meeting you, talking to you, and just really understanding the different mindset, right? Because like I said, I have mine and, could work on other things, et cetera, et cetera. But talking to
Right.
people like you, it just, it like it doesn't make me like feel bad about myself. It's just I think about what I need to work on, so like,
I mean, that's fair, and that's definitely like a two-way street. Like I look at a lot of wrestlers and realize that there's shortcomings that I have as well, for sure. Um, but I do appreciate anytime anyone has nice things to say about me.
Right on, man. Yeah, I got plenty. Got plenty.
Yeah. Anyway, buddy, I think we are gonna have to start to wrap this up here because I actually have to go make an appointment today and whatnot. But I want to thank you very much for coming and being a part of the show. So yeah,
For sure. I was happy
thank
to
you very
do it,
much.
man.
100%. And if you do know anyone else that would like to that's involved in professional wrestling out there in Saskatchewan that would like to jump on here and do one of these with me, just let them know to DM me or whatnot, and that goes out to the rest of the viewing audience. If you're in the wrestling business and you'd like to come and do an episode of Monday Night Shaw, get at me and we'll set something up.
Have some pleasant conversation, man. I'm gonna be spreading the word like crazy.
Yeah, see, like that's the thing that I like about this one. This one, like Monday Night Shaw, is a little bit different than some of the interviews that like Spencer does because he does like a whole boatload of research and stuff, and he's very good at his job and whatnot. But me, I'm very much like, oh yeah, I'm gonna turn on a camera and we're gonna wing it for 45 minutes,
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm glad you came on here and did that with me. I hope I didn't ramble on too much about myself, but
It's whatever, man. Like I think we only got to meet each other the one time, so this is a really, good opportunity for us to like get to know each other. Just really speed up the process. So I
yeah.
appreciate that you really, like greenlit that. Like because like I said, you're a dude I really enjoy talking to, just because like picking your brain, whether you know it or not. I'm
It,
picking your brain.
it is this wild thing because, like you say, we've only met once, but it feels like I've known you for a long time, like before that. But it may just be that I'm like mutual friends with people that you're like, like me and Cameron go way back. Cameron probably he's been on Monday Night Shaw more than anyone else. Like
Yeah.
he's been on the podcast like 5 or 6 times for sure. But anyway, Tony Novak, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show. Let the people know where they can get a hold of you if they would like to book you, how you can be reached and whatnot.
I do have an email, book Tony Novak at gmail.com. I am on Twitter, but I don't use it much. But it's at Rocket Shoe Novak, and then I got my Facebook page, which I use very often. It's at Rocket Shoe Tony Novak.
Solid, awesome, possum. And I will see. No promises if we can get that information edited so that it like appears below your name
No,
when you're saying all that stuff and whatnot.
all good, man, all good.
Anyway, thanks again for coming on the show, and I will talk to each and every one of you all again in 2 weeks.